Hey guys, so today, today I'm going to do a little different episode. I don't have a specific topic, a specific rant. I mean, whew, I've got rants, right? Like I've got rages, rants, I've got anger, issues to deal with, both legally and not legally. But today I received a package in the mail that I've been waiting for ever since it was indicated that it was on the way. And I was extremely happy to open the box and see that it wasn't a hoax or a prank. Not that I thought it was, but you never know, right? Like sometimes things go that way. But I received this wonderful piece of clothing, the Road Rage Champion sash from Chicago, which I'm wearing for you, and I also received this guy. So thanks, buddy. You know who sent it. Really appreciate it, and I thought, even though I'm about to go share a glass of this with my wife, that I would go ahead and do you guys a service and do a quick whiskey review. I've never had this 18-year Balmore, so I'm very anxious to try it out. So cheers. Let's get this guy open. And then I might talk about something else while I drink this first glass, but we'll see. Maybe I'll just sit and enjoy the liquor, right? Smells good. So you'll notice I'm not using my Rekieta Law glass, which I have and I love. However, I'm trying out these new glasses that I got. They were Christmas, or no, a birthday gift, not a Christmas gift. My birthday is by Christmas, so sometimes I get them mixed up. These are Norling whiskey glasses, and they're supposed to enhance the flavor of whiskey of all types. I think they work. They work pretty well, actually. It's weird. The thickness of the lip of the glass here. Let's see if you can get a. See, there's a whiskey glass inside an outer glass. It makes for a very thick lip, and kind of a cool look. But the thickness of the lip really somehow cuts down on the initial bitterness of the whiskey. Of your sips. I don't know if it just funnels it better into your mouth or what, but it's pretty cool. Ooh, it smells really nice. It's got something. It's not super smoky and peaty. It's not like Lagavulin. It's got something a little sweeter on the end. I'm gonna give it a swig. Ooh. It's very good. It's got it lingers inside my mouth here. That's what she said, right? It hangs out, has a nice tingle to it. The smoke is there. The peat is not heavy on a Balmore. It's not heavy on this one at all. That's okay. But if you're looking for a peaty drink, this is not it. But it's very smooth. And, it's quite good. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Thank you, sir, for that lovely bottle. I will enjoy the heck out of it. There will be more videos to come with that feature that bottle. So, as for more videos, so I'd like to talk about what I've got coming up. Obviously, I have embarked on the trademark, the biggest trademark in the universe, going through the trademark dispute between Maddox and Dick Masterson over ownership of the trademark for the biggest problem in the universe. We started that one. We're through Maddox's initial motions, and the next video will cover Dick's initial response, and we'll start talking about that. So that's coming up. Obviously, we've got Lawsuit 10, which will be coming up. I'm pretty sure I put more hours into breaking down the lawsuit than Maddox's lawyer put into drafting and submitting it. So that's funny. I guess maybe I should sue Maddox for $25,000 in legal fees. I don't know. So we've got that coming up. We're going to go into the second and third causes of action, unless documents drop in the meanwhile. But I suspect we will probably see documents in January, right? Because lawyers, the few that have souls, do have families that they celebrate Christmas, Christmas and New Year's with. And so they will likely be out of commission for the end of the year. No reason for them to respond any sooner. They've all got plenty of time to file answers and file motions. I'm guessing we're going to see some motions to dismiss pop up before answers, but we'll see. We'll see how they do it. I don't know what their approach is going to be, so I will be surprised with you guys, and we'll just go through the documents. Aside from that, and aside from the Maddox versus Dick drama, what I've got coming up outside of that is I've got a video that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it's on the future of Facebook and Twitter, and these massive private but public platforms for speech. You've got Facebook and Twitter. There are accusations that Facebook and Twitter are banning people of a certain right-leaning perspective. There's a good amount of evidence to suggest that there's at least a valid claim that maybe right-leaning users get a little more scrutiny than left-leaning users. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true. That could be coincidence. It could be the nature of the speech that right-wing commentators tend to use over left-wing commentators. Not sure. But what I do want to explore is the idea that Facebook and Twitter are not entirely, or will not entirely be, private spaces in the future. There's this exception. So a suppression of a right requires a state action. Sorry, I have to lay foundation for this because lawyer, right? So suppression of a right requires a state action. Private parties typically are not capable of suppressing a right. I mean, they can do it, right? You can stop someone from speaking in any number of ways, but that's not necessarily a constitutional issue, because if you're not an agent of the state and you stop someone from speaking, you don't have a First Amendment protection against your neighbor or against a store owner, for example, if you're in the store. Your free speech rights don't extend to private entities. They're limited to state action most of the time. Once a government steps in to a private space, they can make it it's basically a temporary public space. And when they do that, suddenly the suppression of speech in that temporary public space, it's called a designated public forum. Sorry, I was stalling to noodle through that. It's a designated public forum. In a designated public forum, you see similar constitutional tests that come out of an always public forum, like, for example, a public square that's owned by the city, a city park, a municipal venue, a federal building. You have free speech in these areas outside of very limited restrictions, like federal prisons, right? Your freedom of speech is strongly curtailed. But in courthouses, the court has routinely held up that your speech so long as it is reasonable and not disruptive to the court, is upheld. And the same thing with other federal places, right? The government's curtailing of speech has to be content neutral. Otherwise, it's subject to strict scrutiny, which is something that's very hard. And I don't want to, I can spend a lot of time talking about this, but what I want to talk about is the possibility in the future of Facebook and Twitter becoming designated public forums, even though they're owned by private entities. And if that happens, what that will mean to speech. And as you all know, part of Christmas is sharing Scotch with someone you love. If you don't know that, you should learn it. I have someone off screen who would like to remain off screen, as far as I know, who would like to try this as well. So she also thanks you. But so I've got a video coming up that I'm working on, which will have just an exploration of the potential future in which Facebook and Twitter become a designated public forum. How something like net neutrality might affect that. I think it'll be an interesting exploration. I don't have the discussion all laid out. I don't usually lay out these types of discussions. I kind of just noodle through them with you guys, and I think that'll be a good one. So that's coming out, and then just a couple days ago, I took up a case, small case, in my town here, where a guy's home was raided and a lot of stuff was confiscated by the police. And as it turns out, a huge portion of that stuff, including firearms and ammunition, were taken actually in violation of the statute which allows for a civil forfeiture. Civil asset forfeiture is where the government, through law, I guess, steals things from you and doesn't return them because they determine, without evidence often, that the things that they're stealing, and make no mistake, this is theft. If taxation is theft, this is something beyond that. What they do is they have a statute that allows them to take articles that they believe because belief and nothing else were used in the furtherance of some sort of crime. And there's usually designated crimes, and this is state-specific, state to state. In Minnesota, if there's a firearm, and they believe because the firearm exists in a place where a controlled substance also may exist, they automatically get to presume that that firearm was used in the transaction or defense of said controlled substance, right? So if you have weed and you have a shotgun, they will suggest that the shotgun was used to either buy the weed, because most people buy weed with a shotgun, or it was used in defense of the weed, because, as we all know, people who smoke weed have other people trying to steal it and shoot them with shotguns all the time. This is the legal rationale that they use, that the firearms are presumed to be used in defense of the contraband substance. But what happens when a police officer, or say 9 police officers, misidentify a substance? And not just, I shouldn't say misidentify, they correctly identify a substance, but misdetermine that that substance is actually in violation of the state's Controlled Substances Act. I mean, if I want to look up the definition of a specific controlled substance, say marijuana or methamphetamine, I can pull up Minnesota statutes section 152.01. That's the definitions for the Controlled Substances Act. I can scroll down. If there is a specific definition for a drug, like marijuana, there is, I can read that definition. It takes less than a minute. I can pull it up on a cell phone. I can pull it up on a laptop. Wherever I am, if there is any internet access at all, I can have access to that statute. 9 cops who every day probably, maybe every day is a little overzealous, we'll say every week, cite someone or at least contemplate citing someone for possession of marijuana, for example. 9 of them did not know the statute. And as a result, we have a person arrested for 2 felonies. Those arrests will not go away. They will be on his Bureau of Criminal Apprehension report for at least a decade. And his property was confiscated, and now he has to pay to get that property back. What he cannot pay to do is to have the arrest, which no charges were filed. He cannot have that arrest removed from his record. It cannot be expunged from his BCA report. So, because 9 police officers charged with enforcement of the law were unaware of the law that they enforce with frequency, because of that, this guy's got a permanent blemish on his record, despite never having used these controlled substances. There's no evidence that he used controlled substances or was under the influence of any of these controlled substances at the time. No controlled substances were found at the place. Only something that was mislabeled as a controlled substance. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, about forfeiture, about the state, right? And as we move away from lawsuits and trademark disputes between celebrities. And I would love to find some more of these to go through. I don't think we're ever going to find anything as stupid as the lawsuit. It's just such a gem. But I would love to find some more of these and explore them, and we will going forward. So keep your ears open. If there's something you want to hear about, let me know. But as we move out of it, we're going to talk about what it means to be in a citizen-state relationship that we're all in, and there are multiple perspectives on it, and mine is one that tries to align itself with the founding of our country, which, let's be honest, there are flaws with the founders' perspective of the state-citizen relationship. Obviously, we have slavery, and we have the idea that only the Constitution is only restrictive on the federal government, and state governments have their are not bound by those constitutional restrictions until after Reconstruction. We're going to talk about that stuff as we go forward. But in general, the premise that the state does not own the citizen, but the citizen owns the state. And what does that look like? What does that relationship look like? And we're not purists. I'm a libertarian in a lot of ways, but libertarianism as a system of governance is flawed. It's problematic. But libertarianism as an ethos that we look to as sort of an ideal, and holding principles of libertarianism in our minds as we go through this stuff, that's what we need to do. We need to keep a perspective on freedom and a skepticism of state power. And if we do that, then we can make policies that fit in the real world. Some sort of hybrid libertarian plus nationalism. You have to have a little bit of nationalism plus whatever dosage of socialism is necessary, as close to zero as possible. Stuff to handle these situations. We're going to talk about how laws work in this state-citizen relationship that is more like what the founders intended than what we have today. And that'll be exciting for me. I don't know if you guys will find that interesting or not, but we'll take that perspective as we do some historical analysis of cases and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm rambling now, and this is getting to be long. So I'm gonna call it a night. I'm gonna go drink scotch with my wife, and I'm gonna wish you guys a Merry Christmas. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you guys who have supported me on Patreon. Really appreciate it. It's been actually pretty cool response to me getting drunk and yelling at a camera. So I thank you for that. Got a lot more coming in the future. If you guys want to see specific content, let me know. If you hop on Patreon, if you become a $5 subscriber or higher, your voice and ideas get priority as what's considered a producer of the show, which is, that's a joke. It's a joke. You're not a producer. You don't own anything, right? But I appreciate the donations. Those get priority on suggested content. So, yeah, but let me know. Let me know what you're into, and we'll make it happen at some point. And thanks for embarking on this journey with me. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I'll probably see you before New Year's, or you'll see me. I guess I won't see you unless you add me on Facebook or something. But yeah, cheers. Have a good night.